Every Saturday and Sunday from May through October, the tour boat MV Handle of Ithaca Boat Tours takes customers at the Ithaca Farmers Market on one-hour tours of the southern portion of Cayuga Lake. Steamboat Landing, the site of the Ithaca Farmers Market, was once a port for steamboats in the 1800s. The first steamboat to operate on Cayuga Lake was the Enterprise, which embarked on its maiden voyage on Cayuga Lake with 150 passengers on June 1, 1820. As we pull away from Steamboat Landing, we move into Cayuga Inlet, which is the main trunk stream entering Cayuga Lake from the south. It flows north toward Cayuga Lake, some 15 miles from Spencer, New York, through the Cayuga Inlet Valley. 1/4 of the water that enters Cayuga Lake from its tributaries comes in from Cayuga Inlet. Just to the right of the dock is the mouth of Cascadilla Creek, which pours through Cascadilla Gorge on East Hill on the south side of the Cornell University campus. And if you look over boathouses and between the trees on Newman Golf Course, you can glimpse Ithaca Falls pouring out of Fall Creek Gorge, which cuts through the northern portion of the Cornell campus. Ithaca Falls is one of the biggest waterfalls in New York State. It is 150 feet high and 175 feet wide and is only 30 feet shorter than the American Falls at Niagara. You may have heard the slogan, "Ithaca is gorgeous." Well, it's true in more ways than just scenery. Downtown Ithaca is built on the disgorgements of silt and sediments from the surrounding gorges over thousands of years since the end of the Ice Age. 10,000 years ago, Cayuga Lake's waters lapped against the bases of 3 hills surrounding Ithaca: East Hill, South Hill, and West Hill. In the intervening millennia, Fall Creek, Cascadilla Creek, 6 Mile Creek, Buttermilk Creek, and many others filled in the south end of Cayuga Lake with sediment eroded from the hillsides during natural flood times. There are hundreds of feet of sediments below us before you reach the rock bottom of the Cayuga Lake Trough. The city of Ithaca was built on these deposits. At the end of the wall on the right side of the channel is a lighthouse. It and another lighthouse on the opposite side of the mouth of the channel were built in 1899 and helped guide boats into the channel at night, avoiding much shallower waters nearby. On the breakwater leading to the Red Lighthouse, you can see birds resting, including ring-billed gulls, herring gulls, and great blackback gulls. The dark birds are double-crested cormorants. Some of them are spreading their wings to dry in the sun after diving for fish. At last we are heading out into Cayuga Lake. Cayuga Lake is the longest of the 11 Finger Lakes, a little over 38 miles. Near Ithaca, Cayuga is about a mile wide, but it is 3.5 miles wide 25 miles north of here at Aurora, New York, in Stewart Park. Before 1921, it was privately owned and was called Renwick Park. Ithacans took a trolley to the park through swampland from downtown. At Renwick Park, there was an 880-foot-long steamboat docking pier extending north into the lake from the shore, where the large steamboats on Cayuga Lake would dock. In the 19-teens, the park was rented by Ted and Leo Wharton to produce silent movies, and Ithaca became one of the capitals of the silent film industry. The park buildings were used as film studios. After World War I, the Wharton Studios declined and eventually closed. After the Whartons left, the city of Ithaca bought the park and renamed it Stewart Park after Edward C. Stewart, Ithaca's mayor from 1919 to 1921. Stewart Park is now embarking on a major revitalization plan. The MV Handle continues chugging across southern Cayuga Lake towards its 3.5-mile route along the east shore. The Cayuga Lake Railroad was taken over by the Lehigh Valley Railroad in 1877. By the early 1900s, railroads on both sides of Cayuga Lake had driven the big steamboats on Cayuga Lake out of business. There was freight and passenger service along the lakeside between Ithaca and northern Cayuga Lake until 1948. Now owned by Norfolk Southern, the train line goes no farther than the Cayuga Power Station on Milliken Point, which is in Tompkins County and is visible from Ithaca. There is a long line of cliffs along the east shore north of McKinney's Point. The cliffs are the result of the pounding of waves at the base of the hill. Waves generated by winds blowing over long exposures of water to the west and north for thousands of years. Waves have undermined the hill, creating the cliffs and washing away rock that has fallen from above. Now, the railroad tracks are at the base of the cliff, and rock that falls by the tracks must be periodically removed by machinery and dumped onto the lake side of the tracks. Two million years ago, all of the Finger Lakes were ancient rivers that ran in north and south directions. Since then, the ice ages have transformed that ancient landscape. Enormous continental glaciers plowed down from Canada and overwhelmed what we now call New York State. Because the old river valleys were aligned with the movement of the glaciers from the north, the glaciers poured into the shallow valleys and dug them much deeper and carved very steep banks. Our gorges, like the gorge of Glenwood Creek, are called hanging valleys by geologists because their roots are left hanging above a glacial trough, which they enter by tumbling down waterfalls and eroding canyons in the brink of the main ice-excavated valley. Many think that our gorges were carved by the glaciers, but mostly they were not. The glaciers of the Ice Age set the stage for the creation of our gorges, which were ripped out over time by waterfalls at the edges of glacially carved valleys. Today, the Ithaca Yacht Club occupies Glenwood Point, but for more than 60 years, beginning in 1871, it was the site of the Glenwood Hotel. Many guests came up from Ithaca on a small steamboat, the Horton, for the Wednesday or Saturday night dances in the dance hall over the water. Unfortunately, about 1925, a prankster ignited the July 4th fireworks truck, which exploded and burned down the dance hall. It was not replaced. Some of the lakeside houses, or cottages as many called them, south of Glenwood Point, date from the late 1800s, when they were accessible by steamboat only. The steamer Horton was the most famous.